What if I told you that the most beloved woman in the world didn't die in a tragic accident, but was silenced? To understand why Diana was a target, you have to understand who she was. Diana was born Diana Frances Spencer on July 1st, 1961, in Parkhouse, England. She married Prince Charles in July of 1981 in what was called the Wedding of the Century. She became the mother of Prince William and Prince Harry, the future of the British monarchy. But more than that, she was the people's princess. She shook hands with AIDS patients when no one else would. She was beloved globally, and that made her dangerous to the establishment, aka the royal family. Here's where the story gets darker. Diana's marriage to Charles was falling apart. Charles had resumed his affair with Camilla Shand by 1986, but Diana had a close relationship with her bodyguard, Barry Manicky, someone she trusted deeply. Manicky was transferred off her security detail in 1985 under mysterious circumstances. Then, in 1987, he died in a suspicious motorcycle accident. Diana herself told her friends she believed Manicky was killed by an MI6 agent. Ask yourself, is it coincidence that the man Diana confided in died suddenly, just like Diana would years later? To me, this is just evidence that the British establishment had done this before. In 1995, Diana sat down for a bombshell BBC interview. She looked directly into the cameras and said, "I don't think many people will want me to be their queen. Actually, when I say many people, I mean the establishment that I married into." She knew that they saw her as a threat. She said so publicly, on television, to the entire world. She was outspoken about politically sensitive issues. She was dating Dodi Fade, an Egyptian Muslim man, something the royal family reportedly found deeply troubling. And she had power, popularity, and a platform that they could not control. After the divorce in 1996, Diana was finally free. She was rebuilding her life and falling for Dodi Fade. Dodi's father would later allege that the couple was about to announce their engagement, that Diana was carrying Dodi's child, which would have meant that the future King William's half-sibling would be half Muslim. The royal family, according to Dodi's father, could not allow that. On the night of August 30th, 1997, Diana and Dodi left their hotel in Paris just after midnight. They got into a black Mercedes with bodyguard Trevor Reese Jones and their driver, Henry Paul. Now here's what they want you to believe. That Henry Paul was simply a drunk driver who lost control, speeding through a tunnel trying to outrun paparazzi, that he struck a concrete pillar, and that was that, a tragedy, an accident, case closed. But ask yourself, does that really explain everything? Because here's what the story conveniently leaves out. Let's talk about Henry Paul, the man they blamed for everything. His French records, sealed, conveniently unavailable to this day. He earned a $35,000 salary but had a $250,000 bank account and had a large amount of cash on him at the night of the crash. Where was that money coming from? Was he hired? His blood alcohol was reportedly at 3 times the legal limit. But here's the thing. His own bodyguard testified that Henry Paul did not seem drunk at all that night. And carbon monoxide was found at abnormally high levels in his blood, a finding that raises serious questions about whether the toxicology results were tampered with, because someone with those results should not have been able to drive a car. 3 vials of his blood were taken from the crime scene. However, the report says 5 vials of blood were tested, and investigators noticed inconsistencies between them. Where did the other 2 vials come from? Or, better yet, who? An MI6 agent later testified that Henry Paul had been hired, that the plans that night of the crash looked awfully familiar to an assassination operation that was planned by MI6 for another individual. Then there's the white Fiat Uno. Witness reported a white Fiat Uno sideswiping the Mercedes just before it crashed into the tunnel pillar. French investigators confirmed paint transfer on Diana's car. That Fiat was never officially identified. But many believe the driver was James Anderson, a photographer who ties to intelligence services. Anderson was reportedly driving a white Fiat Uno. Theorists argue it was an MI6 vehicle used to blind Henry Paul with a strobe light, a technique used before by special forces to disorient drivers. Also, James Anderson was found dead in a burned-down BMW in May of 2000, officially ruled a suicide, but awfully suspicious. Now consider what happened at the scene. All 10 of the surveillance cameras along the route were either off or malfunctioning that night. Every single one. However, somehow someone received a speeding ticket on that same road from those same cameras just minutes before the crash, suggesting that the cameras were working minutes before the tragedy. The crash scene was hosed down with a chemical wash within 6 hours of the accident before investigators could properly process it. And Diana was treated on scene for an unusually long amount of time before being transported, valuable time that some medical experts say cost her life. And her body was embalmed just 12 hours after death, which is illegal in France without family consent and would have destroyed any evidence of a pregnancy. The only bystander at the scene was asked to leave. He later testified that nobody, including paparazzi, were following the car and he saw a bright flash of light before the crash. But perhaps the most chilling piece of evidence is this, written in Diana's own hand 10 months before she died. This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure, or serious head injury. She predicted her own death. She named the method. She was right. And yet we're supposed to believe it was an accident. Millions of people laid flowers at the Kensington Palace. They wept in the streets. They knew something was wrong. The official investigations, funded and conducted by the very government accused of involvement, say it was an accident. But ask yourself, how many coincidences does it take before coincidence becomes conspiracy? A sealed driver's record, an unexplained bank account, dead witnesses, disabled cameras, and a chemically washed crime scene, and an illegal bombing, and a letter predicting her death. Diana said the establishment saw her as a threat. She was right. She didn't die in a tunnel in Paris. She was eliminated. While debates and theories may continue to surround the circumstances of her death, they do not define her legacy. What endures is the way she connected with the world, not as a distant figure of royalty, but as someone who saw, felt, and cared deeply. Regardless of unanswered questions, Princess Diana remains, above all else, the people's princess.